Hello, and welcome to Lemon Wedge Interviews. I'm your host, Sharon Joran. I had the great pleasure of chatting with Kelley Edkins, owner of HoneyBee Herbs, located in the Catskills. Kelley was introduced to me by Carol Ann from Carol Ann's Cuisines. Kelley was kind and gracious to let us film in her shop. And as you can see, it's very inviting, charming, and has a Zen-like feel. I hope you enjoy this interview. I know I did, and I learned a lot about bees and beekeeping.
My name's Kelley Edkins. I'm the owner-operator of HoneyBee Herbs Farm and Apothecary. I'm an herbalist, a natural beekeeper, a sustainable garden designer, and a compost expert. I guess from building gardens in the Catskills about 20 years ago, I was noticing the plants in the garden and I couldn't ID them. And I noticed that the bees were on the plants. So I started to identify the plants in an ornamental garden and recognize that this was food for our honeybees. And from research, studying that the food for the honeybees are also the food and medicine for humans. So I started to take workshops and study with local herbalists in the Catskills. In 2008, I applied for a grant through the Sullivan Renaissance, where I received $5,000 to build a Bee Green community compost garden. This was a grant funded by the Renaissance, and the role of the garden was to educate my community on beekeeping and composting in Sullivan County. I've lost many hives due to, just poisoning, or the colony just leaves, or the bees just die. So I started to, instead of throwing out all the produce that they made, start to experiment with that. And I came up with many formulas using the venom from the dead bees, using the carcasses from the dead bees, the pollen, the propolis, the beeswax, and of course the honey, and incorporating that into my skincare line.
Wow, natural.
Yes, all natural. The challenges are that these endangered species plants are mostly woodland plants and they are disappearing. The challenges of cultivating them is it's difficult because the soil has to be very rich and humus soil and filled with nitrogen, so the plants will not be expanding if the soil isn't good. They also have to have the forest to cover the plants. And the reason why I started to specialize in those is a lot of the gardens that I was designing were always in forest plots. Humans would come up and, want to cultivate their land, and I would always try to have them keep the trees and honor the beautiful endangered species woodland plants that are disappearing in the Catskills. That's difficult. Years of practice, finally getting to the point where I'm able to have my girls generate enough honey for themselves to winter over, which is at least 80 pounds of honey. Uh, how do I determine that? Lots of times I harvest the honey only when the hive dies. It's very common to lose a hive in the end of the season, so I'll harvest honey then. And it's hard for me to harvest honey while the girls are alive. I want to take honey from them, but they're swarming now. There's an abundance. So I'm going to wait and to see, maybe in September I'll harvest honey. It's always, so one deep is about, that's where the nest is, where the queen is, and that's about 80 pounds of honey. Then I'll put another super on top, and the super is like smaller, cut in half frames, and that's about 40 pounds. So then I'll put another super on top, and when that super is filled with honey, I'll take that honey from them. So it's like one deep and two supers. So
Nice.
I love lion's mane mushrooms. Those are beautiful mushrooms that I used to wildcraft in the forest. I love the chaga is another mushroom that you can wildcraft in the forest. Reishi, of course, is another one. I'm kind of just cultivating maybe 5 mushrooms, the ones that I know that have come through the wild. Um, those are my favorite, the native wild mushrooms to cultivate. And I build compost gardens, so there's always mushrooms popping up in the compost gardens from all the moisture. And of course, magic mushrooms are one of my favorites. I love the mushrooms, but I don't use as many as other people do. I do tincture them. I make mushroom powders. I make a mushroom coffee. And mostly on, chaga and reishi and lion's mane are the ones that I like to use. Yes, definitely. From the inconsistent temperatures in the climate, the bees are confused just like we are. So, that's hard for the girls. Sometimes, like last year, they came out in January, which is like very strange. Usually, they should just be in cluster. Once the temperature, goes beyond 50 in the hive, the girls will break cluster and they'll come out looking for nectar and they'll fall to, if there's snow on the ground, they'll fall into the snow and then I'll have to pick up the bees and bring them, give them my body temperature so they could get back into their nest. So it's very confusing, the weather temperatures. And also the hot sun, the girls come out, they start bearding all over the hive. You have to like really become one with the bees and actually feel what they're feeling and just know what needs to be done. And it takes years and years of practice to do that. I got 2 big dogs that I trained to bark when the bear come, and I have lost the hives to a couple hives to the bear. I also put a electric fence around the hive, and where I'm located now is a perfect spot because 'cause I'm on the road pretty much, and there's a river, so these, barriers prevent the bear from crossing, although they do come over every now and then. They smell the goldenrod honey, it's very pungent, and as soon as they smell that honey, the bear will be out. In the meantime, the dogs are doing a great job, and I have the hives right outside my bedroom window, so if I do hear anything, I ring bells, and they run away. I'd have to say years of experience. I've been doing this for quite some time. My first hive was 2008, so we're at 2025. I've been formulating different products using honey for so long. It's an interesting medium to work with. My honey is pure because I don't treat the bees. I don't feed them sugar water. I let the bees make their own comb. I'm a natural beekeeper. I feed the bees what I grow. They're not going off to my neighbors getting some other flower whom it could be sprayed. So that's how pure it is. It's from food to farm to skin, as my friend would say, food for the skin. So everything from a beehive is extremely beneficial and good for us. So fast forward now, the products, any kind of honey bee venom product is becoming very popular. And I've been doing it for quite some time. The oils that I do use that I purchase are organic, certified fair trade, um, you know, things that are not being destroyed from the rainforest. So the oils are coming from local farm nuts and seeds. So that's how pure it is.
Yeah, nice.
Well, I'd have to say honey. I love my honey is the best, which I don't have a lot of. But as far as my skin products, I would have to say my HoneyBee Fabulous Face Oil is really amazing. I cannot live without that. It's a blend of royal jelly, there's pollen, there's propolis, there's virgin beeswax, there's bee venom. all from the hive. And then I infuse that with raw honey and jojoba oil and organic coconut and sea buckthornberry and other things. Well, that's my favorite one. And my number one seller pretty much is the bee venom. The girls love that. I studied with Spikenard Bee Sanctuary in Virginia. I love there. It's a biodynamic farm, and I'm so glad I found them. They just work with the cosmic feeling of the universe and related to the bees. They're very natural. As far as herbalism, Dina Falcone is my teacher, who was amazing. She's really very popular now. Rosemary Gladstar was one of my teachers that I studied with a long time ago. Now I say the bees are my teachers. You know, I study with them. I meet a new flower pretty much every day throughout the season that I don't know what that flower is, and the bees actually bring that plant up to life. Like, I'm on an old farm, and now back in the day, 40 years ago, they had hollyhocks, and the girls are unveiling these beautiful hollyhocks that are popping up. So the bees find the flowers that are dormant in the soil. I'm becoming a facilitator for this All Things Good festival. So I'll be teaching a compost workshop. I'm excited about that. I used to do a lot of teaching. I used to go to schools for free to teach the kids when my kids were little. But now my kids are old, so they they don't wanna hear it, but it's exciting to do that, and I do a lot of community events, community teaches, and one-on-one mostly. If you wanna keep bees, I help people, I mentor them into the beekeeping, natural ways of beekeeping. So I would say observe, nature and try to mimic nature as much as possible. So just become the witness and meditate on your land, watch the water, how it flows, watch, the pollinators, watch the plants, don't mow the lawn, things like that. You definitely start a compost without a doubt. And study, I love books. I have a library of books. I studied with books. Go back to the books, find a good book, and just resonate with the book. And new products in store. I'm making vinegars. That's fun. I'm making June, which is a kombucha. It's the champagne of kombucha. It's used with honey, June, instead of sugar. That's exciting. I'm excited. I'm gonna start I have this whole vision of educational, fun, engaging workshops that I want to start to produce and direct. So I'm going to take it on the road and teach people about composting, how to take care of bees naturally, a digital platform that will be recorded and come into fruition. I was going to write a book, but I'm going to do a digital thing. I would say, please stop buying glyphosates and poisoners and Miracle Grow and any kind of product that has an herbicide in it to kill a plant. That's one very important thing, because you're not only killing the weed, you're also poisoning your water, and you're poisoning, the pollinators. So all pollinators we need the pollinators just for the trees. So the trees have flowers. They're very important in the spring. So yeah, don't poison, leave your trees, let your lawn grow a little bit, and observe nature. Because we can't really eat without the honeybees. I mean, I have two beautiful peach trees, and I didn't get any peaches or any pears this year. So it's interesting. I got lots of berries, lots of flowers, but yeah, without the bees, they just something, I don't know why they didn't flower, but it's we need them.
Yes.
All pollinators.
Yes. And so
Thank you.
thank you for
Thank
spending
you.
the time with us today.